Alright, so how was break? Anyone do anything super awesome? John? John? Farah, did you kick someone's butt? Because you're wearing like a I hurt my foot shoe. Did you get in a fight? Farah's pretty scary. I'd be scared to get in a fight with Farah. Layla, what'd you do?
I was hanging out with Dave, and we called Dick and said, "Hey, are you busy?" He was like, "I'm home alone," and I'm like, and then we drove over to his house anyways, and
he had like cars and decorations all over the floor to try to trap you guys, and there was like a hose on and sticky steps and.
Yep. And then we took a walk, and then our toes like turned purple. Was it?
Your toes turned purple?
No, my whole up to here, everything.
Were you wearing shoes?
Yes, we were wearing shoes.
Were you wearing socks?
Yes.
Maybe we should teach a Friday creative option class on like hypothermia and how to identify the signs and avoid it. Yeah. So there's your reminder. It's winter. Wear the appropriate clothing and make sure that you wear layers to school. Make sure that we're not wearing our coats all day long. And make sure that we're washing our clothes. Right? If you have something that didn't get washed all break and you're wearing it, you should not be. Like, we need to wash our clothes. I know we talked about that before break, but especially during winter, people wear sweatshirts over and over again or hats over and over again. Just wash your clothes, guys. Math lunch is a thing again. Sorry I broke your hearts, and it was not a thing right before break, but math lunch is a thing again. So what you need out right now is the Chapter 4 Actual Mastery, but I called it the Chapter 4 Holiday Cheer Celebration of Learning. It does not have a grade on it yet, which you should be able to tell me why, because this is not a new thing at this point. Why is there no actual grade on it yet? Who can, and if you don't have one, please raise your hand, but I think all of you have one. John? What do you mean? Well, and at this point, you guys are familiar enough with the mastery system that the point of our school, right, is to get you to the point, like we have right above my door, right, that you're doing your best work the first time, and the goal is that we're mastered, right, that we know it well enough that we've mastered it. But if I look through something that somebody gave me feedback, and they say you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did that wrong, do I really feel like I've mastered that thing? No, probably not. And that's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. And we gotta like do some more work or go back and like with some fresh eyeballs and look at things. Maybe with a brain that has had time to simmer over winter break, right? And like let go of some of the nonsense or whatever. But we're looking at this. Anyone not have this out in front of them? The Holiday Cheer Celebration of Learning. Were you gone right before break? No, we had you. Are you sure we didn't just give it back to you? Because it was in my stack. I have your grading written down. I have Layla's, Antonella's, and Deekshida's. You should have it, dude. Should what? Who what?
I didn't see the name.
The mini masteries, thank you, good point. A couple of you, I gave you back your mini masteries, and they don't have hole punches. So yeah, you can hole punch it over by Carmen if you want. We'll just go ahead and do this to let people know some math is not a surprise. These people that I'm about to say never turned the mini mastery back in, which means it's just missing. Not that it's progressing, it's just you need to turn it in. So, Aiden, Amanda, Jesus, Layla, Graf, Deekshita, Marina, Cade, and Eve, you guys just all need to turn that in. We worked on it during class. I gave you feedback. I gave it back to you, kind of like what we're going to do today, and you never turned it back into me. So, again, Aiden, Jesus, Marina, Cade, and Eve are the people here that need to care about that. So if you want to come to math lunch and sort that out with me, that was one of those, like, please don't lose this, which is what this paper is please don't lose this. You got to turn it back into me. So on our graph paper, let's all label, give it a header. You should put your name on this thing first as well. But Chapter for mastery. We don't need to write down the big long name, holiday, cheer, celebration of learning, but if you really want to, you can. Revisions. Everybody has one of these in front of them, right? Everyone has a piece of graph paper in front of them that now has a header. I'm trying to make sure I go to pace that we don't leave anyone behind. It's like not picking on Jesus, but right now I'm waiting on Jesus to make sure he's good before I move on. Nothing, guys, I want to be real clear. Nothing written on the original test will be regraded. Nothing. Only stuff on your new graph paper will I look at. Because a lot of time gets spent searching through what is new work, what got erased, what is a revision versus what you did. Like, only stuff that is on the graph paper. So if you got number 1 totally right, maybe 5 of you in here that got number 1 totally right, sweet, you don't have to write anything down for number 1. But everybody else should have a 1, and then A or B or C or whatever part of it. So like 1A, clearly labeled. If your stuff isn't clearly labeled, we're going to get a progressing for like formatting our work. Okay, so I'm going to label over here. This is number 1. I just wanted to do this work up at the board because I've kind of missed doing math up at a board. Guys, there are trapdoors all over the place. The best one to actually start on would be B or C. B or C are easier than A. A is just there to kind of throw you the tough one. But guys, you don't have to work in order. You can go out of order. That's totally fine. It told you to use the distributive property. So what you should have drawn on your paper are these 2 arrows. If you got C wrong, you should be writing down C with me right now. Those arrows tell me to do 7 times 2n. That's my first arrow, tells that multiplication. 14n. The second arrow says do 7 times 3. 7, 14, 21. And everything was still positive, so we put a plus in between there. Questions on 1C. I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to do B, then I'm going to do A. 1C. Any questions still? I need to pull this over here so I can see. Guys, I essentially have a heat map. So at least 3 of you, probably 4 of you, should be writing this down right now. Your paper, your graph paper, doesn't have to be in order. It can do 1C, then it can do 1B, then it can do 1A. But if you only write down the answer, that doesn't count. Okay, I'm going to repeat a lot of things I said back in December because, it's January now. 1B, we draw the same thing. I'm going to do this one in a different color. Because this is saying we have 2 sets of whatever's on the inside. So what's 2 times 3y? Anybody. Doesn't have to be just people that needed help. 6y. Careful not to add. We're multiplying there. 2 times, -4. This is where people started to make some mistakes. Guys, that minus, or if we call it a negative, either way, it goes with this number. So you're either going to end up saying -8 or -8. It doesn't matter, but they are not both positive. It's 6y -8 or a -8. Here's where a ton of us, literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 8 of us tripped up right here. Order of operations. The order of operations what's this A stand for? Addition. Does it come first? No. So when you look at 1A, and if you got this wrong, you should be writing this down on your graph paper to start. So I should see about 10 of you writing this on your graph paper to start. 7 plus 3 times x plus 2. Guys, we try to do parentheses first. By the way, I'm letting you wake up, but I'm going to start calling on people here in a couple minutes. So if you have questions about this, ask it. Can I do x plus 2? No, they're not like terms. But now we move on to multiplication. Guys, we do not add 7 plus 3. We use that 3 to multiply. That happens before addition is allowed to happen. So the 7 just falls down. Nothing happens with it. 3 times x, 3x. 3 times 2, 6. Then what can I do? Layla? Yeah, the 7 and the 6 can go together. This is really 13 plus 3x. Questions on number 1? Now it's awkward because we didn't get back into groups. So it's a little harder if I say, okay, talk with each other about number 2. So take a minute or two to look at number 2. There's only one person in this room who didn't miss anything on number 2. Look at number 2C and see if you can figure out how to do it right. If you did it wrong the first time. If you did number A wrong for number 2 there, you probably did the subtraction first, which we're not allowed to do. Take a moment, see if you can figure it out on your own, but I will help you in just a second. We do not add or subtract first unless it's in parentheses. I know you guys have missed the random cards of my class. Question? Just dancing? Just so excited to be back here. Alright, so we should do this one backwards probably as well. Cade, what do I draw first when I look at a problem like this? Give you a hint. We did it up. Woo! In all 3 of these, we did it first. Who what? Now, what do I draw? Kate, it's okay if we weren't paying attention, but if you don't know, don't just guess. Don't stare at the floor. Like, it's okay to tell me you don't know, but guessing something random, it does not help. You didn't fix number 1 with me? Right, but in number 1, what we draw, hey, quit sinking down. You're fine, but it's January now. We all got to get real honest with each other. So I'm going to move on, but the fact that you don't know, you got to pay attention. Okay, you're going to get a new seat, by the way. We're getting new seats tomorrow. So hiding in the back of the room, those of you that have been hiding in the back of the room or on the fringes, everybody's getting new seats tomorrow because we're changing up groups. We're going to learn who everybody is because I bet you there are people in this room who could turn around and say, I don't know who you are, I don't know who you are, I don't know who you are. Like, you don't all know each other. So tomorrow we're getting new seats. Today we just had too much to do. Layla, what do we draw first? So back to Cade. Hey, Cade, what do we draw first? The arrows. So right now on your paper, draw the arrows. Shaboom, shaboom. That tells us what to multiply. So Jesus, the first thing I'm going to do over here is do what? What's that first little arrow do? Did you write down the work up here for number 1? Okay, so in number 1, use that to refer back to. Apply that to number 2. In number 2, we have 7 groups of 9n minus 3. We drew those arrows telling, what does the arrows tell us to do? Add, subtract, multiply, divide, what are we doing? Multiply. So the first thing we multiply, like up here, was 7 and 2n. Down here is 7 and 9n. So what we need to be writing down, guys, what's getting some of you, and you know, middle school is a learning process. What's getting some of you is you think you're sneaking by and like not doing the work and not writing stuff down. You're not sneaking by. Life is catching up to you right now. If you aren't writing down what I'm writing down, you're only hurting yourself. 7 times 9n. We should write that down so we know what we did. Not just the answer to it. If you just wrote down this for C up there, you're going to get to meet with me, probably at math lunch. That becomes 63n. John, what's the next thing we do? This one, 2C. You're good. Yeah, but there's a trap door. Yeah, it's a -3, or we have to bring the minus down. Guys, it's way easier to think. 7 times -3. What's 7 times -3? -21. So -21. Or you can call it minus. You can bring down the minus and just do the multiplication separately. It's the same thing. But again, they're not both positive. Try B on your own for a moment because I'm going to use cards and I need your help to solve this problem. Yeah. Oh, on number 2 still? We'll get there. I mean, I can help you, but we'll get there in a second. What number is multiplying into the parentheses? What number? What number? This is why I tell you guys to look at it like negative. Lucas, what's the first thing I draw? Yeah, for any distributive problem. Yeah, arrows, right? We normally say arrows because we're like connecting. We're saying that goes there, that goes there. Because I love that Lucas brought up, we can draw the arrows below. The arrows below are totally fine. Eve, what's that first little arrow tell me to do? What? You're all good. Actually, this one, I think you only had issues on number A on this one. I think you had B and C okay. Or maybe you didn't finish them. But just like this one, where we did 7 times the 9n, because that little arrow connected them. Here, it's -7, though. John's recognizing that A has a negative also. What does -7 multiply it by, Isabella? First, the little arrow. That's what it's going to become. Yeah, so -7 multiplies by 3x for the little arrow. And -7 multiplies by anybody. What's the other number -7 multiplies by? -4. -21x plus 28. This actually becomes positive. Questions? Guys, if you're sitting here thinking like, what the heck are we doing? When did we do this? Well, first off, it feels like a long time ago, but it was the tiles. When we put the algebra tiles into groups, and we said if all of these groups have the same thing, we can write this as how many groups of, and then we do the multiplication. If you needed to skip these problems and do the rest of your test, problems like 12 and 13, I think it was, reminds you what we're doing with this. But actually, a lot of us missed part of a problem and sort of got away with it. Questions? All right, so in A, do we subtract first? No. Can I do parentheses first? No. But, Farah, there's a trap door here. What am I going to multiply with? What number is up against parentheses? That's in the parentheses. You're right. It's against it, but it's on the inside. What number's on the outside up against it? What number?
3.
What number, John? I don't know if you guys heard John and I going back and forth, and I said, what number? What number? What number? -3. Guys, this is the trickiest thing. This is why I do not talk about it like minus. It's not right now. We're not allowed to do subtraction. So it's not minus. That's -3. So guys, the work that you should draw, the stuff that you want to write out on your paper, the 9 does nothing. But then -3 multiplies by x. I'm going to go ahead and put a plus between here so I don't get confused. -3 multiplies by the x, and -3 multiplies by 2. Questions on what I just wrote? I'm trying to make sure I'm not in Mia's way. 9 falls down, nothing happens to it. -3 multiplies to both pieces in the parentheses. So now, I still have multiplication to do. I didn't do it, I just wrote it. Right? So again, 9 falls down. -3 times x, -3x. -3 times 2, -6. Raw, Dikshita, we miss you. Mia, what can I do to finish this off, clean it up a tiny bit more? Add the 9 and the -6. Because guys, these are like terms. 9 and 6 can go together, but -6, that's going to pull me down. Some of us treated that like a positive. So this should be 3 and -3x. Or you could write 3 minus 3x. Or you could write -3x plus 3. There's a bunch of ways we can write this and get away with it. Questions on that distribution? Here's how it's going to work to get this test to mastery. Because we've got like 15 minutes left today. We're going to do more problems. But I want to tell you guys the plan. Every year, Chapter 4 falls right about Christmas break, or winter break, right? So, I have a separate follow-up assignment that we will all do to practice a lot of this stuff, right? The distributive property. We did a lot better on page 2 than we did on page 1, which I know. I kind of start the test with the hard stuff so you can skip it if you want to and then come back to it. I was hoping some people would practice stuff. Since we did this over multiple days, you can go home and practice. But these revisions will get turned in with your follow-up. Okay, so these need to be done, but yes, we're doing them together in class, but that's not your free ticket to like not pay attention. You will have a separate assignment on your own. So look at number 3 and try to figure out what did we mess up? Because a lot of us made some kind of silly mistakes here. Can I put x's with y's? No, not unless somebody tells you x and y are the same thing. But if they're the same thing, why would we call them x and y, right? We wouldn't call them two different things. We would call them all x's or all z's or all purple bananas. I don't know. But x's and y's do not go together. You've never seen a purple banana? Actually, fried plantains. I don't know why that just popped in my head, but I would take some fried plantains right now. Seriously. Is this a unit price problem, John? John, is this the John show? This is not the John show. This is the we're all working together to combine like terms. And guys, I even said on your test, like, feel free to use highlighters to help you if you want. If I can't put x's with y's, what can I put with my 5x? 32x. I'm going to take a pause and go ahead and add those together. That's 37x. Go back and get your y's. What is this? Negative 8y. So I highlight the negative also. And what is this? Negative 17y. So we get negative. Anyone want to tell your classmates the thing that when you realize it, you're like, what the heck, Hudson? Kylie?
That all of the problems for 3 are basically the same thing, just in different orders with different number letters.
I wish Antonella was here, because in the middle of the test, she called me over and she goes, wait a minute. These are all the same. I go, shh, don't tell anyone.
I redid each problem like 5 times until I realized they were the same. I thought it was too easy.
Yeah, so 5b, 5x, 5b, 32b. What do we get when we put those together? 37b. When we look at the a's, negative 8a, negative 17a. Oh, hey, look, another negative 25. Same thing with C and D. Negative, negative makes our negative 20. Ooh, that looks black when you put it on there. Negative, negative. The positives come out to be 37. The positives come out to be 37. Guys, I'm not trying to be tricky. I'm trying to see who's got their brain turned on. Questions? John? We're going in order, man. Questions on like terms. M's and N's might look really similar, but they are not like terms. Everyone used to think that M&M's were M, N, M, not M and M's. No, was I just the silly one? Because everyone says it like M and N, or M&M's. There's, like, guys, you gotta be able to laugh at yourself. Okay, like, you gotta be able to laugh at yourself. Even during, like, so I performed a wedding down in Mexico, right? I gave them their rings in the wrong order. Like, I goofed up a wedding ceremony. But you just gotta be able to laugh at it. Literally, my now brother-in-law messed up his vows and accidentally said if I can be as good of a husband for my dad as he tripped over his words and literally accidentally said my dad instead of saying, like, his new wife. And we all just laughed at it, right? Like, in the middle of the wedding start. So you got to be able to laugh at yourself, okay? That's how I'm going to preface this. Almost everybody who got this wrong got it wrong for the same reason, and it's real silly. What's the label of the 5? What? Tulips. Thank you. What's the label for the 3? $. Do not write this down. If your answer was, I think it's 166.
Yeah.
That is wrong. That is wrong. You did 5 divided by 3. But tulips divided by dollars gives you tulips per $. So this would actually be 1.66 tulips that I could buy for $1. Is somebody going to sell you 0.66 tulips? Probably not, unless you're like picking off petals to see he loves me not, right? Hopefully he loves you. If not, get another flower. That's the trick there. Guys, pay attention to the labels. The division we need to do is $3. Now you might want to write this down. Divided by 5 tulips. And that gives you 60 cents per tulip. They're not roses. They're not crazy expensive. Pro tip, guys and girls, doesn't matter if you're buying flowers, you don't gotta buy roses. Roses aren't the only flowers. There are many beautiful flowers out there. Now, if you're in trouble, sometimes roses are the way to go. You forgot your girlfriend's birthday. I don't know how you get over that one. Same thing over here for Flynn's flowers. I need to do dollars divided by stuff, right? Like we've been talking about with unit price, it's dollars divided by stuff, which, what is 4 divided by 7 then? It's less. It's a better deal. If I round it, it's either 57 cents or 58 cents. I don't care which one you work with. Because I think it's 57, 58. Might be 58, 50. Yeah, it is 57. Okay. Guys, it was real hard to switch back into school mode and get this grading done. So then, do you want to pay more or do you want to pay less? Pay less. So who's the better deal? Flynn's Flowers. When Mr. Flynn retires from teaching, maybe he'll own Flynn's Flowers. So then, how much would a dozen cost there? $6.84 if you were using 57 cents. Or I would have also taken $6.96. That's 12 cents more. Because if you used 58 cents, some of you said, well, we have to round up because it's money. Like I told you, most cash registers just round up. So yeah, if you use 58 cents, it'd be $6.96. Questions? Let's all be honest here. Who mixed up the labels? Who did the division? It's like a lot of us, guys. It's a silly mistake. It just happens. It's fine. You just got to watch out for it when things matter. Because if you walk over to Tony's Tulips and you say, here's $1.66, I'd like a flower, they're going to laugh at you and hopefully tell you what the actual price is. But if you do the math wrong, you're gonna pay more money. We got time for at least one snail. I know the snails are kind of slow. Any last questions on the flower question? Lightning, Zippy, and Old May are about to race. Now, if you only solve 2 of the snails, you just got to pay attention to reading everything. My advice here, highlight it. Man, I can't even count how many times I've given the advice to highlight things. We got 3 snails. I would be using 3 colors of highlighter. Guys, having 1 color of highlighter is not that purposeful. It's good. You should really be working in multiple colors to code it for your brain. How far can lightning go in 1 hour? Well, that was kind of a freebie. Lightning speed, 22 feet per 1 hour. They give it to us, 22 feet per hour. You don't need to write it like division, you can write per. Zippy, anyone want to talk me through this? I know a lot of us kind of struggled, so I'll take volunteer. John? That's one option. We can convert the 126 into feet. Yeah, 30 minutes. Needs doubled to become an hour. Right? So I actually thought doubling first was kind of easier. What's 126 doubled? 252. So whichever way you go with this, that's how far he goes in an hour. When we divide that, that's 21 feet. Guys, how do I go from inches down to feet? Divide by 12, right? Because there are 12 inches in a foot. So 21 feet per hour. And Old May, maybe she calls herself Old May to trick people, because Old May is the fastest. How many 10 minutes do I need to make an hour? 6. So I can take my 4 feet and just multiply it by 6. We get 24 feet per hour. Questions on our snails? It's almost time to S-card go to our next class. But I've got a couple. No, it is probably time to S-card go. Yeah, no one gets that joke, but those are the jokes I really like when I just tell them just for myself. So hold on. This test needs to be turned back in. You need to place it in binder rings in a math section, in a math binder, somewhere that you won't lose it. We're going to continue working on it tomorrow, but tomorrow is probably the last day we're going to work on it. So please pick out what questions you have. I don't know if we're going to go question by question tomorrow, because the second and third pages were a little better. Like, we did better on those. But yeah, please do not lose this, or the graph paper you've been working on. You can staple them together right now if you want. Please don't lose this. Escargot is what snails are called when you eat them, by the way. So escargot to your next class, that's the... It's not funny, it's okay. It's not funny. Even if it's not funny, if I get to teach them another word, that counts, right?